What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We will be beginning real soon. Welcome to Hopology, the study of hip hop. And tonight is a hip hop masterclass. So keep it locked. We talk about breaks and samples. Let's go. Don't forget, as you come in, hit that like button. Let me know who you are, where you're from. Tonight's going to be a really, really good teaching. Welcome to the Hip Hop Masterclass. Also, please don't forget to share this on your platforms, Facebook, Instagram, or your social medias. We will begin. We will begin. About another minute or so. Keep it locked. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You and yours. We're getting ready to get started right now. Here we go. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? Let me go ahead and put some stuff on the screen. Of course. Thank you guys for tuning in. Incredible Hulk, I see you. Let me get myself comfortable. Tonight is going to be a very interesting hip hop masterclass as we share some things. Let's go ahead and share the vision and mission of the channel. And right there, you see the mission statement: to research, to document, and to teach the authentic origins of hip hop through rigorous scholarship, honest storytelling, and deep respect for the culture and its pioneers. Vision statement: our vision with hip hopology is to see a world where hip hop is understood at its roots, taught with accuracy, and honored with integrity. That's what we're going to be doing. Tonight is a hip hop masterclass. And I'm going to go ahead and get right in. Of course, as you're watching, please, let's just take care of this real quick right now. Little commercial break right here. If you want to donate to the channel, please consider donating through PayPal. If you have PayPal, that's going to be at Dr. Derrick Colon. If you're using Cash App, that's $ Dr. Derrick Colon. And if you're using YouTube, it's the super thanks. So you're going to look for the three dots next to the share button. You click the three dots and you'll see the thanks. And so any donations are very, very appreciated. Thank you so much. Let's Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. I'm going to have the notes up, and I'm going to be looking at some notes that I prepared. So I want you to, yeah, I actually want to put up this banner. Let me see. Yes, this one right here. Boom. All right. So welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Hip Hop Masterclass. This is actually the first official Hip Hop Masterclass. I am your host, Dr. Derrick Colon, and we're going to be talking about how the breaks, the electro, funk, and sampling shaped the sound of hip hop. All right, this is going to be a step-by-step breakdown. This is foundational to understanding the history of this culture. It's foundational. All right. So again, I'm looking at some notes that I prepared. This is way too rich to simply just wing it. I'm going to be looking at some things because there's specific things that I want to cover and talk about. Let me grab some water. All right, here we go. So we begin with the beginning, right? So as we think about hip hop and before it even existed as a culture, not as a genre, but as a culture, before it even existed, um, the raw material was already there. What is that raw material? What are we talking about? We're talking about the records. That's what we're talking about. The music, the sound. Okay? There's some things I wanna read because they really put into words what I'm really trying to say the best way. Okay? That made any sense. So here we go. Um, so the raw material was already there, pressed into vinyl by funk, by soul, by Latin, and by rock bands of the 60s and the early 1970s. These records, I want you to hear this. These records weren't made with DJs or dancers in mind. Obviously, you want your music to make people move, but that's not what we're talking about, okay? These were built around songs, but inside many of them were moments that spoke directly to the body, the human body, right? The drum breaks, the percussion heavy passages, the parts where the band stripped everything back and let the rhythm breathe. I want to say that again because that's rich. These were the parts where the band stripped everything back and let the rhythm breathe. All right? That's important. All right? Do me a favor. As you come in, don't forget, hit that like button. All right? Drop some hearts on me. Let me see that love. Okay, so now we're talking about this the music, the records. These were songs that were produced by funk bands, by soul, by Latin bands, by rock bands. Okay. And these musicians didn't set out, and obviously, I think people know this, didn't set out to have their records be used as break beats. They didn't set out for that. They just made music, and they had a certain part of the song, a certain part of the record that was the go off, that was the breakdown, that was, as I would call it, the descarga, the go off, all right, the let loose. That's what we're talking about. And it was records that, many of us already know. We know, Give It Up, Turn It Loose, James Brown. We know It's Just Begun by Jimmy Castor. We know, Babe Ruth, the Mexican. We know, Shaft in Africa, Frisco Disco. We know, Super Sperm, Apache, all of them, and so many more, right? And so many more. um, Bob James, Take Me to the Mardi Gras. These were the foundational records that were made by these musicians who sought to create sound, but this breakdown is really what we want to talk about. It's the breakdown, and we're going to go through the progression of how this all happens. Okay, so let me look at the comments and see if anybody's in there. Peace, peace, Def Rock, I see you. Peace, man. Peace. Don't forget, man, share this. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So these are the parts of the record where the band stripped everything back and let the rhythm breathe. And for those of you tuning in, welcome to the Hip Hop Masterclass. I am your host, Dr. Derrick Colon. And as you're in, please hit that like button. And if you feel so led, please consider donating to the channel. All right. Now, let's keep going. And tonight we're talking about the breaks and samples. We're talking about how the breaks and how electro funk and how sampling shaped the sound of hip hop. This is the foundation of the culture. It is the sound, the sonic sound of the music, which was originally made by musicians on records. And many of these were just rare grooves. Many of these were not popular. Many of these never made it to the radio. These were B-side records that, and those who went digging in the crates, digging for records, this is what they were looking for. These rare gems that were hidden in the mines of sound, right? These are rare gems. So let's continue. Let's continue. Here we go. Let me see who's in here. Let me see who's in here. I see two people out here. I see Brother Ron. Peace, 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 peace. So let me encourage y'all, man. Again, let me encourage you. If you feel so led, please consider donating right there. PayPal, if you have a PayPal, Cash App, if you have a Cash App, and YouTube, if you have a super thanks. I'm going to be bringing this back at the end of the hour, but let's continue our class and talk a little bit. And please, as I'm teaching, please drop your notes, drop some questions. We want to engage with the chat tonight in some of these questions. And I'm looking for DJs to be in here. I'm looking for hip hop impresarios to be in here, those who know the culture to be in here tonight. So let's continue. Let's continue. So we talked about, before hip hop ever existed, we talked about these records, right? Now, again, if you're watching and you're just tuning in, I'm gonna be reading my notes that I have specifically for this class in particular. So please bear with me. All right, here we go. Now, in the Bronx, hip hop DJs recognize the power of those moments. The power of those moments. Okay, but I wanna bring us back before the hip hop DJs, because there were DJs prior to the hip hop DJs who were playing this music, who were playing these B-sides, who were playing the specific songs that I already mentioned. They're playing Give It Up, Turn It Loose. They're playing Apache. They're playing It's Just Begun. They're playing the Mexican. Okay. And one interesting tidbit is that there were two versions of It's Just Begun by Jimmy Castor. The original version, which was released in 1970, right, it's just begun, but there's a lot of conga riffs in this one. Again, the original, and then the kind of remade one, carried on with the timbales and all that kind of stuff. But so this is the version that people like Francis Grasso was playing, that people like Alfie Davison was playing, that people like Mancuso, people like Nicky Siano, they were playing these records, right? But they're mixing. Remember, they're mixing. Okay. It is really, now they're playing these records for a particular audience called rock dancers. Rock. Okay. This is the rock dance happening at places like, the Fresh, at places like the Footsteps, at places like the Kontiki, the Fudge Factory. These are the places where these DJs are playing. Now, in the Bronx, the hip hop DJs recognize the power of those moments. Once again, please, if you have some questions, if you have some comments, I'm going to dive into the chat in a little while. So please just jot those down. I'm going to go backwards. So it's people like Kool Herc. It's people like Bambaataa. It's people like Flash and many others who hear this, and particularly beginning with Kool Herc, who decides now, while Herc sees and knows what these downtown DJs were doing, he focuses on the breaks of the records. That's what Herc focuses on. Okay. And so the section of a record where the drums and rhythm hit the hardest, and extending it by switching between two copies of the same record. Now, Herc kind of pioneers this, but Flash, it's Grandmaster Flash who perfects this, and it's Bambaataa who expands the playlist. That's important to understand. If you're joining us right now, welcome to the Hip Hop Masterclass. I am Dr. Derrick Colon. You are tuned in to Hip Hopology, the study of hip hop. And tonight we're talking about the breaks and the samples, and how breaks and electro and sampling shaped the sound of hip hop. Now, I want you to understand something. This wasn't just a technical innovation. No, it was a cultural innovation. It wasn't just technical, it was cultural. Okay. Now, by looping the break, DJs created continuous rhythmic spaces for B-boys and for B-girls. It was about the dancers, it was about keeping them rocking on the floor. Okay, so transforming these records made for listening into tools for movement, competition, and community. The DJ became a musician without instruments, and the turntable became an extension of the drum. Okay, and this is the beginning of the movement. It begins with these records that regular musicians created. They just made songs. But then it's these DJs who hear these certain parts of the record. But then it's the hip hop DJs who take the record. Now, the original DJs weren't extending the breaks as we know extending the breaks. They weren't doing that. It's the hip hop DJs who beginning with Kool Herc, who begin to extend these breaks, okay, for a specific audience. And that is for the B-boys and the B-girls, all right? That's important because and I agree with this 100%. There is no hip hop without the B-boys. The B-boys, the breakers, are the X factor in the culture. It's the DJs who played those breaks and the B-boys who danced to those breaks. Let's take a minute. Let's take a little minute. Let's go to the chat real quick and see what some people. Let me shout out some people right now. I see Incredible Hulk is right here. Shout out to my man Incredible Hulk. Shout out to Def Rocker. Peace, peace, peace. All right. I see Brother Ron is in the building. Peace, 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 peace. I see Carl Hart. Yes, yes, yes. I see my friend. My friend Don Schweitzer is in the building. My man. My man. Let's have this conversation. See, Don is somebody who knows. Don is a musician, and Don knows this music. He knows these records, and he knows what was done with this music. So Don is definitely, yeah. You know, you're right. You know, you're right. You're right, Don. And that's why I said, and many others, right? Just as I'm talking, right? So yeah, you definitely want to mention people like Mario. You want to mention Cool D, Tyrone, the mixologist. You want to mention, Text DJ Hollywood. There's so many, right? DJ Smokey. You want to mention, but there's so many to mention, right? So, but I appreciate Don, who's here tonight. I see Truth Teacher is in the building. I want to shout him out. Thank you, thank you. Back then, a party wasn't a party if he wasn't dancing the whole time. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Yes, 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 yes. Tom Schweitzer says Mario mentored Bambaataa. Most definitely, most definitely. But let's get back. Let's get back. Don't forget, y'all, please do me a favor. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. If you can, this is going to help us and our algorithms. If you can, just drop a like, right? Drop a like, drop a heart that people just help us get the algorithm going, right? And so all of this kind of music and sound created this energy, this excitement that was in the room. It created this. And when you were in these spots, like the original clubs that we're talking about, the downtown scene, right? It was like this, the sound was just booming. It was moving. That's what is very, very important when we're talking about this. So we have the original records that were created primarily, but not exclusively, by funk bands. Okay. And so many of them are inspired and influenced by other styles of music that they're incorporating into these records. That's not really our conversation tonight. Our conversation is really the records that we're talking about. And these records would become the blueprint for these DJs who were playing for a specific audience at the time. Okay? Now, we have this extension. Now, as the culture continues to move forward, now, the original audience were the B-boys, the breakers. But then a new audience comes into play around 76, 77, some say 78, where we have now these breaks that are being used for the MCs now, right? This is before rap records are created. So we have, the original MCs, right? Flash and the three MCs. We have, the Funky Four, the original Funky Four. We have the Mercedes Ladies. We have, all these groups. We could talk about all these groups. That's not really the focus. It's not really the who. It's the what. That's what the focus is on tonight. And so once again, I want to welcome you to the Hip Hop Masterclass. I am your host, Dr. Derrick Colon. Welcome to Hopology, the study of hip hop. And tonight we're talking about the breaks and the samples. So now we're still in the 70s. And we still have these records that are being used. Now, it's important to understand that the breaks that B-boys rock to were not the same breaks that the MCs rock to, because the MCs would find their own rhythm and breaks. Now, there were obviously breaks that were interchangeable that you could use together, no doubt about it. Apache being one of them. Um, and there were MCs that were rocking to, Super Sperm. That were rocking to Cheryl Lynn's "Got to Be Real." They were rocking to "Good Times," and many others, right? Flash's Freedom. Well, it's not Flash's Freedom. 7 Minutes of Funk. But again, they're taking these obscure records, these breaks, and they're using them now for the MCs. And this is before rap music comes on wax. But now we want to go to this part of the conversation. And again, forgive me for I'm looking at my notes now. As hip hop moved toward recorded rap records in the late 1970s. Now, again, there were records that had rhymers on the records, King Tim III, the Fatback Band, Pygmy Markham, people refer to that. Those are not the hip hop MCs. Though that's not hip hop rap as we know it. That kind of sounds funny, but you get what I'm saying. Okay. So now, as hip hop moved toward recorded rap records in the late 1970s, a new challenge emerged. And somebody brought this up in the past. How do you capture a live DJ and an MC and their culture on wax? Now, the problem was you still had the DJs cutting up these breaks on the cassettes. And this is even when the rap records begin. But then the rap records come out and you don't hear the DJs cutting up breaks, extending the breaks. Why? Because they're using studio musicians. They're recreating songs to try to recreate the sound that the original MCs were rocking to, but without having it sound so raw and edgy, if that makes sense. Okay. And so we have, obviously, the most famous is the Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. And, they're replaying. They didn't sample this. The band played Good Times. Okay. Then you have, the first rap record on the Enjoy label, Rapping and Rocking the House by the Funky 4+1 More. And they're kind of recreating the sound of Cheryl Lynn's Got to Be Real, but it sounds a little different. Okay, that's the idea of recreating what the breaks sounded like. Okay. Now, when you hear these recreated portions in the studios, again, they're trying to recreate a sound without that raw, edgy. That will come. And Flash is really going to be the one to bring that back. But we have those records, right? And so it's really when we get to people like Pumpkin and Friends. It's really Pumpkin and Friends. It's really the Sugar Hill Gang, the Sugar Hill House Band, as they were known. I believe his name was Ed Fletcher, but the Sugar Hill House Band. So Pumpkin, he didn't rely on the break beats. He created his own lane. This is important to understand, right? Pumpkin is not using the break beats. He's his own musician. He's creating his own lane. Okay? I want to read this so I can catch what I really wanted to say. So he didn't rely on break beats. He didn't rely on break beats lifted from existing funk records. Instead, they helped to pioneer a sound built from live musicians, recreating the feel of the break Drums were played harder and more repetitively. I want you to get this. Bass lines were simplified and locked in, and arrangements were designed to leave space for the MC. This was hip hop learning to speak in its own voice on records. Not yet fully divorced from funk, but no longer dependent on borrowing its moments, if that makes sense. So now we have the house bands, particularly Pumpkin, who is going to create a new set of breaks that I'm not even sure he went in and designed them as breaks. They were simply songs for people like the Funky 4 plus 1 more. And then you had the instrumental. You had him creating the love rap, Spoonie G, the instrumental. You had him creating Feel the Heartbeat, the Treacherous 3, the instrumental. Now, Feel the Heartbeat is obviously a recreation, right? The love rap, totally new. Now, what happens is the MCs now of the late 70s into the 80s now start to utilize Pumpkin's playlist, Pumpkin's breaks, which are no longer the breaks of, you know, um, musicians from the 70s. This is Pumpkin now who's creating his own lane. And the MCs were rocking to what was hot, and what Pumpkin was producing was hot. If you heard the jams from the Cold Crush, if you heard jams from the Fantastic, I'm going to get to the chat in a minute. If you heard those jams from any of those people, you heard those breaks. You heard Feel the Heartbeat. You heard Love Rap. You heard what was the other one I said? Cheryl Lynn's Got to Be Real. You heard those, right? Now Cheryl Lynn obviously is not, Pumpkin is not, didn't produce Cheryl Lynn, but he reproduced a sound that was supposed to lend to the same idea as Cheryl Lynn, if that makes any sense. So now we're moving from records to a new set of records that's specifically made for hip hop. And that is through Pumpkin, that is through the Sugar Hill House Band. That is through, so Pumpkin is working with Enjoy Records, Sugar Hill Band, and then he would do some other stuff, obviously. All right. So this is what I want you to get. I want you to understand that. Let's check out the chat. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Let's see what it is. All right. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see what the chat is saying. Yes. Let me see. Okay. Yes, Magnetic. So Magnetic One, he says, Kool Herc actually learned mixing breaks from those downtown DJs. That's not what I said. He saw what they were doing with the two turntables. He didn't learn mixing breaks from them. Okay, he comes up with his own concept called the merry-go-round. They were not doing that. That's not what I'm saying. But he's exposed to that scene. Just like, I want you to hear this, just like Disco King Mario was exposed to that scene. Mario was in places like the Fresh, he was in places like the Footsteps, and he was hanging out with his boy, Cuddy. And Cuddy would go and hang out at this, him and Mario, and they would be seen in the DJ booth with Alfie Davidson. And how do I know this? Because Frank Rojas saw them there because he was dancing there. So he saw Mario. So a lot of people were exposed to what these DJs were doing, but Herc doesn't learn how to mix the breaks from them. He sees what they're doing and he wants to create his own lane, but he wants to extend these breaks so that they go longer. These downtown DJs were playing the records and they were good mixers. So it's not quite the same thing, but I appreciate that comment. I do appreciate that comment. Let me see. Let me see. Musically, the edge was lost because I like this. I like this, Don. I like this. Musically, the edge was lost because they were using cover bands, which played a watered down version. I agree. But where I think the edge came back was through Pumpkin, because Pumpkin created. He's not recreating songs. He did some, but a lot of his stuff is new flavor, new fire to it. It's a new set of breaks for a new generation, and that generation will be the MCs. Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right. Let's see. St. Ephraim, he says the Pumpkin era ended with It's Yours, Tila Rock, then Run DMC. Yeah, we're gonna get to all of that. We're gonna get to all that. So let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's get back into it. So now we are in the era of the beginning of rap records. Okay, beginning of rap records. Now, the early 1980s brought the next major shift. Now there's a major shift that's going to happen. The early 1980s brought a major shift. And I'm talking probably about 82. And I'm specifically talking about a song that shifted everything. Can anybody tell me in the comments what you think that song was that shifted the whole game? Anybody? Let's see if people can get what I'm saying. There was a specific song that was done that moved the marker from what Pumpkin was doing to now a new sound altogether. Can anybody tell me what that song was? Let me see. Let me go in the comments and see if anybody can get it. Yes, sir. That song was Planet Rock, most definitely. And so now we're introduced to the era of electro funk. And Planet Rock is a song that is produced, put together really by Arthur Baker. And it is a combination. What Soul Sonic used to do at the jams, they would have these routines that would be a combination of Kraftwerk numbers and Trans Europe Express. And so Arthur Baker now introduces a totally new idea. And this is where we get into the drum machines. This is the era of electro funk and the drum machines. Okay, we're moving from records now to the drum machines. And the TR-808 is used on Planet Rock. Okay, now let's go back. Let's go back. I see you. I see you. I see you. Shout out to Dub DJ. I see you, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. Don't forget, smash that like button. Let's get those likes up. Let's get those hearts up. Let's show some love. Let's get this thing rolling, right? So now we have a new thing happening. This is electro funk now. The introduction of the drum machines, like the Roland TR-808, and the affordable synthesizers. Hip hop producers began crafting futuristic mechanical rhythms that no band could replicate naturally. So we have Arthur Baker, Quiet as It's Kept. Arthur Baker, not only did, Soul Sonic, he did the Jazzy Five, this guy, but it was that TR-808. So now it's shifting. Right now it's drum machines. Okay, I want to read this to you. Acts associated with the Zulu Nation and beyond fused funk sensibilities with electronic precision, creating a sound that was both street and sci-fi. Electro wasn't just a sonic evolution. It reflected hip hop's expanding imagination. I like that. Connecting Bronx park jams to global dance floors and laying the groundwork for modern electronic music. So it begins with Planet Rock. And then you have Soul Sonic, right? Planet Rock. Then you have um the, what's the other crew? Play at Your Own Risk. Somebody help me. They made Play at Your Own Risk and Cheap Thrills. Let me go to the chat. Somebody's gonna help me with that. I'm having a brain fart right now. Play at Your Own Risk and Planet Patrol. Planet Patrol. Planet Patrol. Planet Patrol. I'm gonna get to the chat. So now we have electronic music that becomes the bedrock for the new sound of hip hop in the 80s. All right. Everybody's using this. You know, we have the Johnson crew, Pac Jam, Lookout, all these things, right? When we get to even the movies like Beat Street, it's that, you know, Rocker's Revenge. It's this electro sound that is heavily again, they remember the essence of the original break beats and the original music, which was funk, Latin combined to create a sound that was totally different. And this made its way into electro funk. This is why when you the drum machines, you always heard the sound of the cowbells, the 808, the cowbell on the 808 was always used. The bongos on the 808 was always used, right? This is that era. But now, as time goes on, somebody brought this out, right? We have Planet Rock, we have and more rappers are out. Then we have LL Cool J, we have Tila Rock, right? And they're rocking off drum machines, right? Who can tell me what the drum machine that that Rick Rubin was using when he was first? Because this is going into Def Jam, right? These drum machines. Let me see if anybody could tell me what it is. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I like what Don Schweitzer just said. He said the 808 was an inexpensive drum machine. Hip hop gravitated towards it because of economics. The Linn drum, that's it right there. The Linn drum was more industry standard, but wasn't reachable by commercially hip hop production. All right. So these are the things that we're talking about. Let me see this. All right. These are the things that we're talking about. Okay, let me see if anybody can say it. I see you, Most High. Hit that thumbs up, man. Like this video. Let's go. The Roland 808. Yup, we said that. We said that already. We said that. All right. I see Akeem is in the building. All right, let's keep going. So now we're moving from the drum machines to now this new thing that starts to happen. Now there's some debate. There's some debate on whether it was, who was the first one. Let's have that discussion here. Who was the first one to use samples? Who was the first person to sample on records? I've heard it before. I've heard Marley Marl. I've heard other people. Okay, that's not the discussion, but we can chop that up. That's okay. But let me read this thought to you. By the mid to late 1980s, sampling technology completed the circle. That's what completes the circle. It begins with these records that were made by bands. Hip hop DJs take these records and extend the breaks of those records. That moves into a new sound created by Pumpkin and friends, with him creating his own breaks. Okay? And then we move from that to the drum machines. But it's not until sampling that the circle is completed. And sampling has its own controversies. Its own controversies. When I was an MC, we were using the SP 1200. Okay, my DJ Bucket was using the SP 1200, and you could really only get certain amounts of samples on each, little section. So you really had to know what you were doing to rock the SP. But anyway, back to this. So by the mid to late 1980s, sampling technology completed the circle. Machines like the SP 1200 and certain MPCs allowed producers to take fragments of those original records, drum breaks, horn stabs, bass notes, and even single snare hits, and reassemble them into an entirely new composition. And so they were geniuses at this. And so what a lot of people would like to do, they would take, let's say they would take a James Brown scream, one of his famous screams, and they would sample just that little snippet. Or they would take the 808 drum from the 808. When you turned it all the way down, that 808 produced that deep boom. Everybody wanted that sound, not just Miami bass. MCs in the 80s during the sampling era wanted that deep 808 sound. In fact, as people were driving around in their cars, they were putting sound systems in their cars. In the back, by the back window, they were putting these four, 10 to 12-inch speakers, and they were looking for that boom to ride around the neighborhood, right? And so they would take the 808s from different records and sample it. They would take a horn hit from, a jazz record and take that little snippet, right? These guys were geniuses at being able to take from little places and create something totally original. Okay. Quiet as it's kept, there was a group on, I believe they were on 98.7 KISS, known as the Latin Rascals, and they were doing that with reel to reels, right? They were splicing and taking, and Red Alert said that their edits were like machine gun edits, right? Da, 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 da. So people are just ingenious with how they can take bits and pieces and create something totally original. All right. Let's see what people are saying in the chat about sampling. Let's go. Let's go. All right. All right. All right. Let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. I see. Yes, let's listen. Don says Rick Rubin was a student at NYU Facts, a recording engineer department, which is why he had access to higher end drum machines. Facts, right? Yeah, definitely, most definitely. Yes, we see your text. We see your we see your text, JG. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Most High. It's okay. Peace, Doc. Respect to you. We will continue to agree to disagree, and let's do that. We do that as men, and we do that. But thank you for being here, man. I see you. I see you. So, let me see who else is in here. Let's see. Pete Rock was famous for using the SP. So anybody got comments about the sampling era, the sampling movement. All right. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's talk about it. So now we have um, these new compositions, right? So sampling wasn't about nostalgia, but it was. It wasn't about nostalgia. It wasn't trying to bring us back to the original breaks, but it was creating something totally new. It was about authorship. Hip hop producers became archivists and composers, preserving the past while reshaping it to speak to the present. The breakbeat returned not as a loop spun by hand, but as a digital memory, chopped, layered, and reimagined. Right. So when I made my record, the breakbeat that we used, we had a couple of things that we used. The breakbeat that I used was number one, the funky drummer was the main rhythm. James Brown's the funky drummer. We had um, bits and pieces from Cool G Rap. We had bits and pieces from the Fearless Four, the Devastating Tito. We had bits and pieces from Spoonie G. Yes, yes, y'all. We had bits and pieces from Bismarck, right? So we took bits and pieces to create something totally new, right? So that's what we did. We layered it and we reimagined what was happening. So now, in conclusion, and again, I want to welcome you to tonight Hip Hop's Masterclass. And my name is Dr. Derrick Colon. For those of you that might be new, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget, hit that like button. Let's get those likes up. It didn't do it. I wanted to do it. Let's get those likes up. And it didn't do it again. No, it's not working. Okay. Anyway, all right. Yeah. We can do that. Here we go. I'm gonna make it happen. Here we go. I'm gonna make it happen. We're going to get those likes. Let's get those likes up. Let's get those hearts up, right? And so, again, this was a way to complete the circle. Now, then we have Run DMC, and then it just goes on and on and on from there, samples and samples. Some people believe the greatest record produced, it would probably be two. You tell me what y'all think. It would probably be De La Soul's first album. And I believe I'm not sure if who produced that. I want to say Prince Paul, but I'm not sure if it was Pete Rock or Prince Paul. My memory is not there right now. But then some say it was De La Soul's first album, and others say it was Illmatic by Nas, because you had a bunch of super producers on that album. All right, we'll get into the chat and see. In conclusion, from extending drum breaks for b-boys to creating original band-driven rap records to electro funk experimentation, and finally to the art of sampling, hip-hop's evolution has always been about transformation. It's always been about transformation. Okay? It took what existed, bent it toward community and expression, and turned limitation into innovation. We used what we had. It wasn't about, we can't do this because we don't have. It's about, because we don't have, we can do this. That's what it was about. At every stage, the culture didn't just consume music, it redefined what music could actually be. It redefined what music could actually be. Wow. Wow. Let's take care of some house business real quick. Let me encourage you guys. Hey, if you're here and you enjoy this kind of content, hip hop history, these kind of hip hop masterclasses that I'm going to be doing quite regularly, and I'm going to be inviting some guests to join me and have these discussions. I would love to have Don Schweitzer on here with me, and we'll discuss, you know, some things in the culture, you know, and turn it into a hip hop masterclass. You know, and others like that. But if at all possible, if you feel so led, you enjoy this kind of content, let me encourage you. If you have a PayPal, you can donate to PayPal at Dr. Derrick Colon. It's right there on the screen. If you have a Cash App, it's $ Dr. Derrick Colon as well. And if you're on YouTube, you can simply donate by hitting the super thanks. Now, where you see the share button on my videos, you'll see the 3 dots next to the share button. Hit the 3 dots and you'll see the thanks. Any donation is welcomed as we continue to try to put this out, you know, on a regular basis. Let me share with you one more time before we go. Hopology, the study of hip hop. This is the mission, and we're going to read the vision statement. Our mission here is to research, to document, and to teach the authentic origins of hip hop through rigorous scholarship, honest storytelling, and deep respect for the culture and its pioneers. And our vision statement is to see a world where hip hop is understood at its roots. This is what we did tonight, taught with accuracy and honored with integrity. So I just want to thank you. I'm going to get to the chat. We're not done yet. I'm going to get to the chat. I want to build a little bit. Let me encourage you to be on the lookout for hip hop history, origins, and elements coming this year, December 25th. This is going to be a new book that I'm writing. And also, if you're into the writing thing, you can check out my blog, urbanexegesisstudios.wordpress.com, where I have a lot of articles that I have been writing. So let's go ahead and get into the comments as we close out. Tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Incredible Hulk, for the blessing tonight. Thank you so much. Could always use that. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So Akeem said it was Prince Paul. Yes. Okay, it was Prince Paul, and that was a really, you know, as far as sampling is concerned, that was a really, really good album as far as sampling was concerned. Let me see what other people are saying. Yeah. Dre. Okay. Don Schweitzer says, yeah, you know what? Brain fart, right? Dr. Dre is that dude. Dre was a genius at sampling. A genius. As far as I'm concerned, Dre is a musician. He just puts it, I mean, he's just creative with it. So yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Let me see what other people. Don says hip hop emerged as music programs were removed from public schools. Yeah. Yeah, the Most High says Prince Paul, innovator extraordinaire. Most definitely. So listen, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel, and donate if you so feel led to do so. If you enjoy content like this, we're working on trying to get a more official podcast studio. We really want to make this official. And so again, welcome to Hopology, the study of hip hop. I am your host, Dr. Derrick Colon, and this has been a hip hop masterclass on the breaks and sampling. I'll catch you on the next one. Please share this when you can. Grace and peace.